I cheated on my girlfriend. It's been 2 years since she left me, and I punish myself by staying with my AP. I hate my AP. I, Leland 29M, have been in a relationship with Madison, 28F, for almost 2 years. I don't expect to get any sympathy here. I did this to myself. I used to blame everyone else for my problems. I used to be controlling. I used to be a sleazeball. Some people may think I still am these things, but I really try not to be anymore. It took me a really long time to realize I was my problem. To give some background, I used to do some pretty shady shit. Doing this is how I met Kara, 23F now, 18F when we met. I was 24 years old and 2 years out of college. I had done good with the girls in college and racked up a solid body count. However, when I got out of college, I wasn't really ready for anything serious, and found the dating scene tougher. I had a good job, and I know I'm a good-looking guy. It wasn't that it was hard to get dates. I just ended up getting dumped or blown off more often. I was immature. I realize that now. The women in my age range that I was trying to date were looking for more. I don't mean they all just wanted to settle down and get married. Plenty of them were fine with casual dating. By more, I mean they were looking for someone who didn't get shit drunk whenever possible, play video games like it was their job, or ignore them until he wanted sex. Since this wasn't working for me, I decided to go younger. I'm not proud of it, but I used to occasionally go to parties with my little brother. He was a college freshman, so I would usually just go to his parties, but one night he was going to this party in another town, that was actually a high school party. I tagged along, and that is where I met Kara. This was in May, so she was like 2 weeks from her graduation, not that that makes it any better. She was absolutely stunning, still is. We hit it off and I got her snap that night. She was going to the local university in the fall, and I lived close enough to campus. We spent most of the summer together. I realized I was falling in love with her, and showed that by becoming more jealous and controlling. It was all underhanded. Early on when she wanted to go to a party or club with friends, and I knew there would be a lot of guys there, I'd do something over the top like get concert tickets or plan a weekend vacation so she wouldn't go. Over time I began playing the victim, or accusing her of things when she had plans. I wanted to ruin her mood. I would impose myself in the things I couldn't get her to opt out of. It was all jealousy and insecurity. When her junior year started, I talked her into moving in with me. This was for me, even though I presented it as being best for her. Financially it was, and I focused on that. I had her in a tough spot. She was basically acting as my housekeeper, and I held her financial independence over her head. My only attempt at balancing that out was that I did spoil her in terms of gifts and luxuries. The thing was, while she was always very appreciative, she really wasn't the kind of girl who needed all that. When I had started working at my current job, there was a woman there in an open relationship named Abigail. She was older. I liked to overhear her conversations with some of my other coworkers. Abigail was very open about her lifestyle and not ashamed of it one bit. I would often tell Kara about what I overheard, because it was just so crazy. I would have never gone into something like that. The idea of sharing my girl with someone else was ridiculous. That was until I met Madison. We were flirty from her first day, and that only increased from there. After a week, she asked her husband for an open relationship. We wanted to hook up, and we didn't want to lose our significant others. It took me a lot longer to finally approach Kara, and by that time Madison had made the situation with her husband worse. They were no longer doing an open relationship and were going to try swinging. Of course I lied to Kara about this and told her that Madison's open had been wonderful and we should try something like that. The dumbest part of it all is, I wasn't really willing to share Kara. The idea of her with another man made me furious, which makes the swinging I asked her to go along with all the dumber. I wanted to have sex with Madison, and was willing to play the dumbest game ever to make it happen. Madison was too though. She didn't have a lot of respect for her husband Seth. She thought he was a pushover, and when he was going to walk out on their marriage because of the open relationship she forced on him, she had to backtrack and find a way to get what she wanted. That was swinging. She also thought this could bring him back under her thumb. I know this, because she has told me so. She was so upset that he was going to leave her, that she was determined to break him. As we went about making this happen, we totally ignored all their pleas, all their requests for time, space, communication, clarity. We gaslit them, pushed them, falsely reassured them. I feel like such an asshole for putting Kara through that, and Seth too. He didn't deserve it either. In the end, Madison and I got our wish, we got permission, and we got the consequences that came with it. We were so delusional. We both really thought we could have our good time, and they wouldn't do anything about it. Neither of us wanted them to be with anyone else. We were making rules for them, not for me. Our goal was actually to have each other, and them to also pay attention to us. I remember us discussing how we didn't think they'd actually do anything with each other. Even if they did, we planned on asking them to focus on us, like they were going to be okay with that. Then we made the plan. Abigail had mentioned to Madison that she was having a house party in 2 weeks. Madison had been confiding in her, and getting advice from her about open relationships, and then on swinging. Madison told me that could be our chance. She told Abigail about mine and Kara's desire for swinging, a half-truth. Abigail had already invited Madison at this point, to get her and Seth's feet wet. Abigail then agreed to let us come as well. Madison and I were so excited to make this happen at that point. We had the vibe check, which turned out to be a big part of our undoing, as unbeknownst to us, Seth and Kara began talking. Comparing notes would be a better term, they were very much onto us. The day of the party was total tunnel vision for me. I could see the goal, and I was doing everything I could to get there. At the same time, I was such a dick, I totally ignored everything Kara was saying. We got there, we got a tour, and then I immediately looked to take Madison upstairs to the private rooms. She was more than willing to go. We were totally ignoring our partners. They just stood there and watched us walk off. I, in a complete afterthought moment, told Kara to come on. But I really didn't care. As we hit the room, we both talked about how they didn't follow us. We were excited about that, we could do this, and they wouldn't do anything. That's what we thought. We had sex for 20 to 25 minutes, then lingered a bit, talking and laughing, got dressed. I fully expected to find Kara and Seth sitting in the living room sulking. We had talked a bit about damage control with them. They were not there. Our first thought was they took a car and left. Seth did have the keys to his. We went outside only to see both vehicles still there. Then we headed to where the food was, also not there. We heard some fairly large commotion from one of the rooms. Imagine my shock as I walked in to see Kara engaging with others, and having sex with Seth. There were several people in the room they had chosen to play. Madison was just as mind-blown. The fallout was massive and immediate. We screamed and yelled at each other the whole way home and through the night. She was calling me out on everything I had pulled over the course of our entire relationship. Seth and Madison were apparently doing the exact same thing. Kara left me the next morning. I was devastated by that. I feel like I became the poster child for fuck around and find out. Madison called me a week after all this went down. It was also the day after Seth served her with divorce papers. We just had a brief conversation as I was still trying to process losing Kara. Madison was cold, it was kind of weird. She didn't sound mad, or sad, just neutral. Like we were talking about the electric bill being due soon. I should have taken that as my first red flag. I tried just moving on. I remember telling myself, her loss. What a joke, Kara definitely wasn't losing anything, she could do so much better than me. It was about a month later, I had made a fake account and was social media stalking Kara to see what she was doing. I realized her and Seth had become a couple. She photo dumped a month's worth of outings and dates they had been on. The next week at work, Madison, who had largely ignored me that month, was back being flirty and friendly. I kind of called her out on it. She asked if I had seen that Seth and Kara were together. She said she wanted to meet after work that night, and invited me over for dinner. I agreed because I figured why the hell not, might even get late again. She texted me shortly before I had gotten to her apartment to just let myself in as she was getting ready. When I walked in, she told me to relax for a moment, she would only be another minute. After about 10, I got a text from her asking me to come into her bedroom. As I walked in there, she was at the foot of her bed. She immediately started to seduce me. She was largely insatiable that entire night and insisted on me staying over, where she kept up this crazed act for most of the next day. It was when I started to get ready to head home the next afternoon that she told me she wanted us to give this a real shot. She said our SOs have moved on with each other, we should do the same. We get along, have fun, sex is awesome, why not? Considering the time she had just shown me, I was all in for this. Things were good at first, however, I could tell there was something off. She wanted to document and post on socials everything we did together. I don't just mean trips or dinner dates to nice restaurants. I mean everything. If I got us Taco Bell after a long day, she made it into this sappy romantic post about how we just get each other or he's a mind reader. She always made it sound like we were just the happiest couple ever. Which really wasn't true. Yes, she was sleeping with me a lot, and always planning these outings. But the conversations were bland, and emotional support was not there. When my childhood cat, the cat still lived with my parents, died at 19, I was understandably sad. I was having a moment at work that day about it, I may have even had a tear or two in my eyes. She was noticeably uncomfortable. When I came over that night, she wanted to get takeout, and make a post about it. I was sad, and having a hard time smiling. She got annoyed, told me it was just a cat. I said I loved that cat. She rolled her eyes and said, look, just smile for the fucking photo, and stop talking about the cat. Do that, I'll take care of you, and you can go be sad the rest of the night, deal? Of course I accepted, but looking back now, I realize I should have walked out and never looked back. Things only got weirder from there. We had been together about 6 months at the time. I knew she constantly checked to see what Seth was doing. One day, she told me she had gotten a new phone. She read somewhere that everyone should have 2 phones, one for business and one for personal use. I could understand that if you were a public figure, but we weren't. We were just office drones. I just accepted this as it wasn't worth debating. That night we had sex with all of the lights on. Leaving the table side lamp on wasn't unusual, but she had the overhead light on, the light in the bathroom on, the other lamp on. Afterwards, she grabbed her new phone and told me to take a picture, and she would send it to me. Then she said, oops. I felt this wave of concern come over me. She told me she accidentally sent the pic to Seth. I got pissed off, because how do you accidentally send it, and also, why would you even need his number in your new phone? Even without the resulting blow-up from her the next day, I knew she sent that photo as some sort of half-baked idea to make him jealous. To his credit, he didn't take the bait at all. Instead, he sent back a video that set her off like no other. It starts as just a selfie shot of him, and he goes, got your pic, glad to see you're having fun, anyway Kara says hi. At this point it pans over, and there's Kara in sportswear looking amazing, and she goes, hi Maddie. I should mention Madison hates being called Maddie, then he pans back, we're having fun too, video pans up to the Kings Island entrance sign, I'm going to go ahead and block this number now, and if you send another picture like this to me I will go to the authorities. Bye. After this, she became increasingly insistent on us moving in together. I didn't want to, but I was also in a deep depression that I was unaware of at the time. I was in a real doom spiral of self-hate. I agreed and I ended up moving in with Madison. She was still trying to present a we are the perfect couple vibe to the world. It was bullshit, I just didn't want to be alone, as much as I was unhappy with everything, sitting at my apartment alone was worse. Which is how I ended up where I am today. It was about 2 months after we moved in together I saw on Kara's socials that her and Seth had broken up. Looks like it was mutual and amicable, no real detail. That was over a year ago, and they appear to still be friends. They still interact with each other on socials, commenting on each other's posts, wishing happy birthdays. Seth was even at Kara's graduation celebration with her friends and family. When I told Madison about this, she completely changed. She already wasn't the most loving partner in the world, but she got colder. It was about 2 weeks later she came to me one night and said, "I want to be in an open relationship again. This isn't really negotiable. I also don't want a bunch of stupid rules. What the fuck is the point if there's going to be a 100 limitations? You can either be cool with this, make peace with this, or move on." I was so delusional at the time, I actually thought this would be a good thing for me. The thing was, I had kind of let myself go. I wasn't working out very much, I was drinking a lot. We ate out way too much. Mentally and emotionally, I was putting on a tough stoic front, but on the inside I was dying. I had blown it with Kara and now was replacing that with self-destruction. I agreed to Madison's terms and told her I wanted 2 rules: use protection every time, and no details unless the other person asks for them. She was fine with that. The next day was Friday. She went out after work and didn't come home until Saturday morning. I asked her where she was and she said, "With a guy." It kind of shocked me, I don't know why, it shouldn't have. I'm sure she had him lined up before she ever asked. I just thought, okay, 2 can play this game. I was wrong, this was a very one-sided game. Over the next 3 months our relationship went to shit. She only wanted to have sex with me, right after she got back from doing it with someone else. Which, embarrassingly to admit, I was taking her up on, because otherwise I wasn't getting anything. I have no idea if she was seeing multiple people, this is what I assumed, or just the same 1 or 2. I occasionally would ask where she was going or where she was, and she always replied, "With a guy." Meanwhile, I was having no luck on the open market. I was struggling at work, I was still drinking, my confidence was shit because I couldn't get a match to save my life. I went back to doing shady shit at this point. I switched my profile to a much younger, fitter picture from a few years earlier. When I got a match with this woman named Evelyn, I was ecstatic. She was poly-ish, and I thought maybe this would be a chance to just have something else for myself. We messaged for about 2 weeks, she was aware of Madison and she told me a little about her long-term partner Anthony. I wasn't honest here either, as I made it seem like Madison and I had this amazing connection. We met for dinner one night. I could tell she was a little skeptical, because I didn't quite match my photo. I did my best to cover up the weight difference with the right clothes, but you could still tell some. We were actually having a pretty nice conversation, when she asked what got me into opens. I chuckled and said, "Madison," but I said it weakly, and she picked up on it. Then I just kind of word vomited about how it started, and about Kara. I wasn't overly forward, but I said enough to kill the vibe. She said, "You don't really want to be doing this, do you?" I just shook my head. We talked a little bit more where she told me I didn't have to be what I didn't want to be. I said, "I know." Then she stared at me for a moment. "You also can be what you actually want to be." That hit me like a ton of bricks. I asked if she wanted to go, and I'd take her back home. She said I didn't need to, she had messaged Anthony to pick her up and he was probably outside already. I paid the check and thanked her for the night, then headed out ahead of her. I got home and was thinking about what she said. It was true that I didn't like myself. I checked Kara's socials, only to discover at that moment she was in a new relationship. I felt all those same familiar feelings of loss, jealousy, self-pity. I went to bed but couldn't sleep. Madison came rolling in at 2 a.m. trying to initiate with me, which was a clear indicator of what she had done that night. I wasn't interested and rejected her. She got a little pissy but not much. She said, "Wait, you had a date tonight, how did it go? Did it go good? Must have if you don't want any." I said, "It went fine." She in a condescending way said, "Fine? Like you got laid fine, or you got a second date fine?" I said, "I don't want to talk about it." She said, "Oh no, you had two rules, one of them is no details unless asked, and I'm asking." I begrudgingly replied, "Neither then, we won't be going out again," but it went fine. She laughed, and made an L shape with her hand. "I'm kidding, I had about the opposite night, so we even out." For the first time I pressed for more details. "Yeah, what did you do then?" She said, "I ended up meeting up with this couple I've been talking to. I hadn't ever had a threesome, but that changed tonight." I actually couldn't believe that. I had asked her about doing something like that repeatedly since we opened. She always told me that she wasn't interested. I decided to call her out on that. She replied, "When I said I wasn't interested, it meant I wasn't interested in doing that with you." I just walked away from her at that point and headed for the kitchen. She didn't follow, and when I heard the shower turn on, I went to lay on the couch. The next day she got up and went out to coffee with a couple of friends. I remember staring in the mirror for what must have been 15 minutes. I was thinking about what Evelyn said, thinking about how quickly Kara moved on from me, thinking about how awful it has been with Madison. I hated who I was looking at in the mirror. I made the decision to take Evelyn's words seriously. I could be the person I wanted to be. That was maybe just a little over a year ago now. I am still living with Madison. I am cordial and polite to her, she is not that way to me. I refuse to sleep with her, which has led her to go out more often, and I'm pretty sure she has at least 2 full-time FWBs. I have been sober for a year now, and have been hitting the gym frequently. I might even say I'm in better shape than I was before. I put myself into work and have been getting noticed. I like taking on a little more than I have to, and focusing on some of the tougher assignments. My ultimate goal is to one day be a VP. I have been attending bi-weekly therapy appointments this whole time. I really had to face a lot of my own behaviors and shame. It's been a long road of self-discovery. I think it will be very beneficial when I hit the dating scene again. I haven't even tried for a relationship during this time. I'm finally ready to move forward with my life. I haven't told Madison any of this. I don't feel I owe her anything. She is a cold and bitter woman who uses people. That might be the toughest part. She expects me to basically serve her, which I have done for a long time just to keep the peace. I am done. I have lined up a new apartment for myself, and will be moving out this week. I'm just going to pack up and leave. I'll leave a note behind. I have managed to find a new job as well. A competitor was looking to fill a director position. I didn't land that position, but they also needed an assistant director, and I was offered that. Either was a pay increase, so I accepted the assistant spot. I also am looking at this as a chance to grow. I don't want to go into it with any bitterness towards whoever got the director spot. Even though they will be my direct boss I'm working with on a daily basis. I'm going to do whatever I can to be of value. Well, this is long enough already. I can't wait to start this new chapter, and I'm finally happy with the person I see in the mirror. Wish me luck.